to the cloud. Then click live on YouTube. My account. Public. Good evening, everyone. I am here with one of my sweetest new YouTube friends. I absolutely love you, by the way. I think you're so amazing. I I've gotten to the point where I'm less tolerant of people right now, not because I don't love them, but because I'm just like, gosh, everyone has an opinion about how someone else needs to run their life. And I'm here to tell you there isn't anyone that's going to run my life for me but me. And you have always been so gracious in sharing your information, never judging me because I might think differently. And I hope I've given you the same. I really love everyone, truly. I even look at some of the people that I've helped in the past that no one would have helped, and their lives have completely changed. And I think people need to get a little bit open-minded about what their tolerance levels are. And here I am saying I'm not tolerating, right? But it's just so cool to have someone like you that has your own thing going, that contributes to the world, trying to put out the best things that you have to share with people, and not judging how I do it. And I think that that's so cool. I I have shifted in my beliefs in the last 6 months. I've become more of a Christ follower and less of a different ways follower, so to speak. So I'm on a journey right now that's very biblically oriented, and I love it. But I had been there before, and then I have gone other places and come back around, and it's just nice to be around somebody like you, Dr. Sharnael, that is open-minded and kind, and not not judging me for who I am.
Well, you're easy to be around and you're very easy to love. And I feel the same way. And, I think it's just because in general, been there, done that, can relate. And I try to, with toleration, um, remember if I may have been in someone else's shoes before, not yours, but when people get judgy and weird, and then there's also that mean kind of stuff that goes on where it's like where you can pick up and know like they're not even open to have a real conversation about it. They're just actually just being mean. So when I feel that, um I have at times just been like, guess what? You don't get to be in my space, and block them. And there have been times when I've been having a better day and maybe just go, well, so why do you feel that way or whatever? But,
Yeah.
a part of, some of that is like, are you giving it too much energy and just making it continue and giving away your power by trying to have a conversation? I'm getting better at, I guess you could say, testing the spirit, if you want to call it that,
Yeah.
as far on religious terms, of being like, I could tell this person actually is asking versus someone who's just being judgmental. There's like
Right.
an undercurrent where you can feel like, you
Yeah.
know, and it's funny because people don't realize that judgment um has karma. There's a code to judgment and opinions. Everyone has them. But
Right.
Bob Jones used to say opinions are witchcraft, because there is one truth, and we have all these perspectives, but it's really easy to look at anyone on doing whatever they're doing and go like, I would do it like this, I would do it like that, and they really don't know and aren't probably doing anything. So how would you know how you would do it, because you don't do it and you never even tried to do it. Most of the
Yeah.
people who are judgmental are someone who's sitting at home with a computer, kind of armchair quarterbacking, on their couch potato, with their bag of chips, just like drive by being an asshole versus just honestly looking, But I am seeing a lot of turnaround, and it's interesting. I just posted something that said, I just really wonder how many people from 2019 are you know, waking up now and seeing that I've been right for 18 months and
I
longer.
know. I
Uh,
know.
So,
That's the one thing that 9/11 really showed me. I couldn't believe how many people were onto the whole, looking at Bush in a different light and stuff like that. But I have to tell you, I finally started your book. I was, first of all, blown away because we use nearly the exact same stick man with the pluses and minuses. I literally use this with my clients. I'll be like,
really?
okay, so this one's a plus and this is a minus, and so what we want to do is we want to turn it to a plus. How do we do that? And then I'll like watch how like some of the negatives have stacked up and turned into a little monster of their own. And I was just like, she really is my soul sister.
That's amazing.
We use the same sticks
I
drawing.
am such an artist. I mean,
Oh,
can you
right?
tell?
Me
Look at
too.
my drawings, you guys. If you have my book, that is artistry at the finest.
That's
Like
what mine look like
Picasso,
too.
look out, Akiana, move over.
Uh, but I want to rewind to what you said because you're so used to saying this stuff. But Bob Jones, you said that having an opinion was witchcraft. I had just learned that humiliation, manipulation, dominance, all of these different things are witchcraft also. And I was actually kind of excited. I know that sounds so strange, but I was excited because I want to straighten people up out of this just judging people, because I think that you could easily say that there's a great percentage of the people that manipulate. There's a great percentage of the people that do all these things. So we're actively working on witchcraft without even realizing it. And so tell me about opinion and judgment, because there was something in your book about that too. And you mentioned opinion earlier.
So I have several videos on opinions and judgment. The reason why is because we, everything is code and frequency. So when we either think about judging someone and or are in action doing that, whether it's talking about it, thinking about it, feeling it, it has an even more magnetic connection. Then the code goes out. And so not only do we get a match because of karma, but also your limbic system right here behind with the frontal lobe, behind the frontal
Frontal
lobe,
lobe, yeah.
cannot tell the difference between you and me. So every time we judge, your body receives it as you're being judged, and it releases the chemicals of shame and feeling judged and all the things that go with judgment or opinions. And so, the limbic system is interesting because giving does the opposite. So when you give, it can do the same thing. So if you give to a church or a ministry or help a single mom or anything like that, if you notice, you always feel like, oh my God, I feel so happy. At least I do. I feel like, you see a stranger and you're like, you know what, I'm going to get him dinner, or you're in Starbucks drive through or whatever. And you're like, I want to get the guy behind me or whatever. It's like, you always feel like happy and giddy. At least I do. But actually your brain can't tell the difference between giving to you or giving to them. So it receives all the chemicals, brain chemicals that come in as you just gave to yourself. So it is, there's that direct karma chemically, but then there's also the karma that goes out into the field that brings a match where then people start giving back to you. But it's the same thing with opinions. We can actually give opinions. So when we are giving witchcraft, guess what? We get witchcraft back because, opinions are witchcraft. And it's easy to think we know what we would do in a situation, but we don't. We just don't. Um, so it's easier for us to kind of just like set back. The body is one body, and even scriptures will talk about, can you judge a hand? Can you whatever? It's like, no, we're all one body. So, it's like, oh, but this hand doesn't do what this does, or my eye is better, or, there's nothing better. It's just different.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, yes, but I want to do something fun. So you just explained that with your doctor, scalar waves, physics. I want to interpret that and I want to say it in a way that is like a Christian person might receive it, right? So instead of codes, I would say truths. Like codes are truths. They're absolutely, and there's different types of codes, right? So you've got your frequency, which would be the the level that you're at in the omnipresence, right? So the omnipresence is everything. That is God. And the frequency is the level with which you've united with it, right? You can separate out. It's the level with which you've united with it, and the whole
Or not
limbic system
united with it.
separated, right?
Yep.
It's the level with which you have. And then the limbic system, like you already said, that goes back to unity. So that is the body of Christ, or all of us have an opportunity to realize that when we're doing something, we're just doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, there is no them. It's that's interesting in itself. Is there everything is us, and so we are one body. There's the consciousness of Christ, which is one, and we have the DNA of Christ, so then we're one again. I mean, there's just all keeps going. There's a Schumann resonance that holds us in one. So the cells connect, that's one. Every cell is God in this body and then in this body. And so, there is no separation. That's the biggest hoax of all. There's
Yeah.
an illusion.
That whole unified field concept is kind of proving that out too. I mean, physics changes so fast; it's hard to keep up with. I'm sure somebody's debunked it already, and there's something else. But I love learning with physics on because they all apply directly with that law of correspondence. So I was telling you before we started that one of my favorite videos that you've ever done that I'm going to refer people to, I'm actually going to post it in the description box because I think it's so good. But I wanted you to just share a couple of things that you were saying in there. First of all, though, let's talk about what is a scalar wave, because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Well, we all have it's frequency. It goes back. It's just a measurement of energy. So frequency.
So it's whether it's low or high, right? And high is the best,
I
right?
would be the best. God is love, who is the highest frequency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now give us an idea of how you can work with scalar waves. Like, how do you know what something is resonating at?
Well, there's I work with Elena and Alejandro. They do all the testing. I've never seen them test. I just get to be yeah, I can give you information on them.
Yeah.
But they do blind testing. And then I also work with Dr. Lucky and a lady named Nancy, who's a practitioner. And so I've done blind studies with them as well. And then there's frequency. So I do biofeedback, which can do some of that too. It doesn't do scalar. It's kind of scalar, but not the same thing as
Right.
talking scalar. But yeah, so our body is 67 megahertz on a regular healthy adult day. But when you get low, then you open yourself up to dis-ease and other things that can enter the field because of us lowering our shield, basically.
So if they were to check the scalar waves of someone in a hospital, what would their numbers be closer to
It
if
just
they were
depends.
towards
It
the end of
depends.
life? Or
Oh, well, when you die, you're at 25,
okay,
and
so
and then it takes 3 weeks to get to zero.
wow.
I choose to know why it 2 to 3
Mhm.
weeks, but you still have any kind of frequency. Now this is megahertz, so
Right.
this is not the same thing as scalar waves with David Hawkins, although scalar waves and frequency are the same thing. It's all energy, but they have a specific chart that they measure for like illuminate, like love is 500 hertz. Um, or megahertz. I choose to remember which. But anyway, so 500 and above is like where you want to be. And like anything lower than 55, they call it the 55 club, which is like control and manipulation. People who fall into the 55, 50 club that are not alive or alive would be like Hitler and the Bush family. You know, some other people who are doing this stuff, uh, some people in social media right now that are sending a lot of misinformation are in that club. Um, you know, there's a lot of interesting things about the 55 club. But like Joan of Arc, for example, she came in at 100. She Before she incarnated, she was 500. She was born at 100, which is fear, and then she actually went up to, I believe, 700 before she passed. So that goes back to your hospital question. She's dying on, you know, being burned to death. You would think that would be low frequency because
Right.
you were saying if someone's in the hospital, what would they be? It
But
depends.
that's just their flesh, not their spirit.
Yes, she was in the 700s dying
Right.
and dead.
Okay.
So I mean that is like a luminary. That's, you know, high up. Jesus was 1,000. There wasn't any other person on the planet who ever batted 1,000 on the
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah.
They called him an avatar, meaning he is the true God in the flesh.
Right.
The only other person who ever measured that, um, that I would say is a twin flame is Mary Magdalene, who again that may be a controversy. It
Right.
was
We're gonna get people being like, I don't like her because she did this. But we're just learning, okay? So the
Oh, I
next
was like, what? How can that be?
yeah.
You know, I was like, do not mess, you know, but we are told a lot of bad things about Mary, and I encourage you to read a book that I read a few years ago regarding when I got this information. I was like, okay, let me look into this. And
Yeah.
I started reading this book. I'll send you
Yeah,
that
that'd be
lady.
awesome.
Yeah, she wrote it after 35 years of studying all the outside texts of Mary,
Wow.
and she is a Harvard grad, wasn't a Christian, but became a Christian. I don't like the word Christian, but
Yeah, me neither. We could talk about that too.
yeah, but and
so
but so
so
yeah, Jesus is the highest, and of course they actually tested off planet things as well, and they're actually pretty high. So that was pretty interesting.
yeah, so what a lot of people will be like, well, how does somebody test something like that? How can you be somewhere and another person be somewhere else? Well, remember, there's timelessness outside of this dimension, but also there's uh, cell phones. You know, people are like every day texting each other, calling each other,
Radio waves,
and
Wi-Fi.
it's coming
But
across. We don't
yeah,
see it coming,
yeah.
and
I'll
and
give you.
so can you read somebody with your biofeedback machine from like my house where
Yep.
you are now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can read the biofeedback. I could diagnose, and then I could actually send you frequency back. Just like today, I was in my Jeep, and my Sirius satellite kept being interrupted. It would go and stop every like 4 seconds or less. I was like, what the crap? So I call Sirius and to say like, hey, what's going on? And they were literally like, okay, pull on the side of the road, make sure your radio's on. We're going to send you a refresh. And they literally, I don't know how you do it, but they said, I mean, it reminded me of the biofeedback thing. I'm like, really? I'm just going to sit here from wherever you are. I think she was
Yeah.
in she was literally like in the Philippines or something.
Yes.
And she like sent me a refresh to my satellite. It turned it back on and it worked. Um,
Yes.
that's happened with DirecTV, which I don't have anymore, but you know, I've been there and be like, can you do something? And they sent a refresh and they rebooted it from wherever they were in some warehouse and whatever. So, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I can do people, I can test where they're at, hormones, anatomy, EEGs, brain anatomy, body anatomy, today's stress, chakras, meridians, what else? What they need as far as vitamins, essential oils, all of that. And then also what we do is we take everything that's completely out of balance and I put it in a tray, and then I scan the opposite. Let's say it's a negative 50, then I want to do a positive 50 and shove it back in there and send it back to the person, and they will immediately feel it. The first time it happened to me, I had a doctor who sent it to me, and he was like, sometimes people feel it, sometimes they don't. And so I gave him all the information, and then I went home. It was a 4-hour drive, and I thought they were going to do it right away, but I ended up like, he was like, oh, it won't be for a week or so before I do it. Well, a couple weeks, 3 weeks later, I was sitting on the couch and I was just sitting there and I got so sleepy. And I was like, oh my God, this is like pregnant sleepy. And I was like, I think he's doing something to
You're
me right now.
recovering.
Yes. And I sent a text to, actually, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I sent him a text to see, like, hey, did you just do it? And he had already texted me 3 hours before, which is when I fell asleep, and said, I just want to let you know I'm starting in about 5 minutes. But I didn't get
Wow.
the text. And I never take naps in the daytime, but it conked me out. And I was like, literally, oh my God, if they can do this long distance
Remote.
to
Yeah.
me and I'm sleeping, like what else can anyone do to us,
Right. Which
without,
was going into my next question. Can somebody manipulate you with biofeedback or scalar without you knowing it?
oh, for sure. It's, they're going to get some karma, and
Yeah.
they are getting karma, but they got energy weapons. They got, you know, yeah, they could do
Oh,
stuff.
so that is the same, it's the same technology, the
It,
energy weapons?
it can be, depends on what they're using, but I mean, they use radar and different things. Probably not the same as something that's good for you.
Right.
I mean, they could take it and make it good for you.
Right.
But some of them are on purpose made to not be good for you.
Right.
The software I have, obviously that's going to be good for you. And do people always sleep? No, sometimes I get like a burst of energy and I'll get rid of like 35 garbage bags full of shit out of my house, and I'll be like, oh my God, it feels so good. Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go run a marathon and do CrossFit. It's like, depends on what's going on. Like sometimes you just need to sleep. Sometimes you're active, and everybody's different. Some people get a slight headache or they cry or get super emotional. So it does, and what they're doing with the scalar waves, they've been doing this since like the 30s and the 40s, is they can, what they're doing with 5G right now. Um, that's a whole different,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've talked about that voice of God and all those different things. But so then the thing that I wanted you to share with everyone is what was the scalar wave for alcohol?
yes, 10 or
Or
less.
was it scalar? Okay, yeah,
Yep.
that is scalar. Okay.
Yep,
And
10 or less with alcohol, cigarettes, any kind of recreational drugs, which people can be like, oh, I just do a little weed here and there, whatever. And it's just like,
so
no,
even weed was lower.
yes. And you know what? They tested weed from the 70s and the 60s, and it had a different number than it does now.
Wow.
Depends on what's in it and how they made
Where it
it,
was
how they
grown.
grew it, what
Yeah.
kind of ground.
Pesticides, not pesticides, all
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Wow. What
cigarettes
about
too.
pornography? Did anyone check that one out?
I think that's a no-brainer, but
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever tested that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
I think it's a no-brainer too. I just was curious if it was the same number as all of those.
oh, I'm sure it's low, but yeah,
But
it's
that's
gotta be.
below death.
Yeah, which is interesting. That's what I'm saying, is what happens is I can look at a scan, and one of the scans is a spiritual report, and it'll show if there's entities, if there's anything that's messing with the DNA or tampering. Well, that's another thing. But if there's anything in the field, a psychic attack of any kind. And when I see psychic attack or entities that are literally high, like above the charts, 650, 700s, I'm like, okay, either you smoke or drink or do something. And usually 100 times out of 100, they're going to say, yeah, I do drink sometimes, or I do weed or whatever. It's like, okay, probably shouldn't do that. Because most of the time, if you're dealing with entities, those are not the good stuff that's
Right.
coming in. That's where the confusion and the voices and, the not being able to reason or deal with normal things that are just happening, and or not really have an ability to recognize truth.
Right.
So because you only get what you are. So if you're a low vibe, you can actually
Only
slide in and
tune
start
into that.
believing something that is low vibe because you are low vibe, and then you attract those friends in your life and cancel clear all that. But so yeah, the entities bring a lot of confusion, and that's when, voice to God and all that kind of stuff, if that's going on, you're going to slide right in there because you're already low.
Right.
And so usually the people who come in are like, oh, I'm just so confused. I got brain fog and just depressed and whatever, cancel clear. And then I'm like, oh, let's look at your thing. Okay, well, yeah, you got to stop. This is a good thing. Stop doing that. I have anxiety. It's like, maybe get rid of that. And then the entities are gone and you can be sovereign and have your own thoughts and
Right.
remember how to make choices and stuff like that. So,
I love this. So let's pretend like I called you and I was like, I want to go through your process. What kind of things would you say? And like how do you do the testing?
I do,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would love to hear the process. I mean, probably people here want to know too.
Yeah, I get a picture and you got to do a voice recording
Mhm.
because we test off the picture and your voice. It's called Evox. So it can, every sound that you make as we speak actually has frequency. And
Yes.
so you could detect like what's going on just by hearing, which is interesting because I've kind of been able to do some of that. Sometimes we're like someone, and you guys can do it too. We have the technology already. When someone says like blah 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 blah, they can say all the right things, but you can be like, she's lying. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I
I'm
mean?
not feeling that vibe. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's because there's an undercurrent that your body already detects. We have that technology already.
Absolutely.
So, and
Absolutely.
literally, someone can literally say every good thing, and you can just be like, no. Or they can say it and they don't mean it. It's not even necessarily that it's not true, but they don't mean it. So, but anyway, yeah. So a picture, voice, birthday, that's about it. I'm trying to think. But yeah.
Okay, so then they contact you, you get those things from them. So then you test it without them there.
Yeah, you don't have to be there. I test it and then I get the reports back. I screenshot all the reports, send it to you or whoever. They get
Hmm.
them. And then we set up a time to go over it
And
because really the
consult.
first time you do need a consultation to kind
Right.
of know what you're looking at with the
Mhm.
reports later. They do suggest doing follow-up scans because it's like training
You
wheels.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the point is to bring the frequency up and to stay.
Yeah.
So like if you hit a tuning fork, it's going to buzz for a while, but then it gets tired, right? So, but if you bring in other tuning forks that are the same, then they all like bounce off of each other and they keep going and
Keep
they
it
amplify.
going.
So
Right.
I don't ever want to do anything where someone is dependent on a scan.
Right.
So what I do is I look over the scan and I go, you know what? If you change your diet this way, or if you add vitamin D, or if you get a grounding device, or if you sleep more, or whatever, anything that I could do for homework for
Hmm.
a person to do on their end. That way I'm sending the frequencies to them, but they're also implementing some things to anchor into their physical body to hold that sound. Then it's kind of like training wheels till eventually you don't need the training wheels, but your body can already be in that sound and just stay without
Right.
needing any training wheels. So, and
Right.
all the things that I would suggest are things that aren't dependable either, are dependent made anyway. So it's not like I got to do this supplement for the rest of my life, or I got
Right.
to sit in nature every day, or whatever. These are things that you just want to do until you can get above the snake line and stay, and then you're feeling good to do things anyway.
Right.
So
And you can begin doing it on your own without the supplemental help. So somebody in here was saying, "Oh, this is new age, using technology for healing." I would love to hear your comment in that because I've talked to you about this. So please share
what's
what your
new
thoughts
about
are
it?
because I mean, people do
So we're
x-rays,
are we
right? That's technology.
someone in the live chat just said that?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So yeah, I mean, 12 years ago when I was doing this, we were doing conferences, huge conferences, and I had a couple pastors because then it wasn't bio, it was uni. So you can only diagnose, or I could only diagnose that by doing galvanic touch on a machine, a handheld machine, and then I could see, well, this is what's going on with you.
Right.
Now I have the capability to not only do it long distance, but to send you back what you need, which
Right.
is biofeedback. But um, we had a pastor who was like, "Oh my God, she's a witch and New Age," and don't go to her meeting in Orlando because she's got this new age technology or whatever. I was like, oh my God, do you use a cell phone? Do you go to the x-ray machine? Have you ever went through TSA at the airport? Have you ever got an MRI? Like, so is that new age? Is it new age to like get on your computer or use YouTube or direct TV or Sirius TV or Sirius music in your vehicle? Like, I don't know. People are
The
just,
Amish think so, but
yeah, but I think the Amish got something going there. They're
yeah,
awake. They're
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
awake.
that,
And I
but
mean that
it,
compliment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I think, and that's why I wanted you to share that because a lot
Bless
of
your
people,
heart, whoever you are out there thinking this is new age. I love you so much, but do your research. Awesome.
yeah, she gets it. You, that's where you have to have thick skin.
I don't. I don't
And,
have to. I just
no,
don't.
I'm saying that's where like you to be able to all day long be, trying to share and have people
I don't.
doing that.
I honestly don't get that all day long. So,
Oh, okay, that's
every now
good.
and then we attract a dummy here or two, and that just leads me to remember that there's somewhere in me that I need to shift. So, but one of my mantras and or decrees is I attract Christ everywhere I go. So, God is the only power and presence acting here, and then that's what I get. And so people
And
always,
when you think about it, that is true because God is omnipresent and we have the ability to either look at the light that is God or the shadows. And the shadows to a lot of people are more real than the light. Um, and so you have to really start, looking at what you're doing. But it is interesting because that same person I'm sure does use cell phones.
it's
They're
the same
on.
thing with crystals. Is people are like, oh my God, crystals. And it's like crystals are in your glasses. They're in your cell phone. They're in every piece of technology in a hospital. Like literally every computer. If they're in your car, so people are
Well,
like,
I
oh
mean,
my
they
God,
use diamonds for lasers and
which is
cutting
crystal.
things, and yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we can't, okay, well, stop driving your car then and put your cell phone down because damn it, you're using a crystal. So there you go. It's like I can't hang. People are like, oh, I can't
But
watch.
those same people might manipulate and have opinions and humiliate people and do different kinds of witchcraft, which is something that I think it's important to. I think it's important to just let people grow on their own. Let people learn. Um, let people learn. I mean, let people expand into their own way. And the world has a way of writing itself. Like it just somehow writes itself. The consequences. Some people will call it karma. That's another thing. People get offended with that word. And really, all it is you reap what you sow.
Yep.
That is a biblical term. I mean, that
Yes.
is that is an absolute. Whatever you're out there sowing, you will reap. That's
Because
all
we are
karma
one.
is. That's all it is.
Yeah.
it's just
Well,
another it's just another word, and people get offended.
it's funny too because I think people are more bold and courageous to be mean and to be judgmental behind a computer than they would be in real life. Because when's the last time you were at a grocery store and you saw someone walk over to someone else and said, "Oh my God, I don't like your shirt," or "I can't believe you're wearing a crystal. That's
Yeah.
new age," or
Yeah.
that will never happen. And so,
Right.
but at the same token, people can come to a public page and say
Yes.
whatever and just drive by, be judgmental or be a mean person. And someone say, well, you're a public figure, so you asked for it, or you're on a public platform, so you asked for it. So does that mean if you're at a grocery store, you
Oh,
ask for it?
that's so good.
That makes
And
no sense.
people wear shirts that have tons of things that I disagree with. I don't walk up to them and
You
say, I
just walk
disagree
by.
with your shirt.
Yeah, you just walk by, or
Yeah.
those shoes are ugly. It's like you don't just walk up to a stranger and go, I would never wear those shoes. I can't believe that. But people will say, I had a scarf on once and they were like, oh my God, that looks Eastern. And I was like, so what? And I literally took a unicorn and wrapped it up in the scarf and like made a picture and was just like, in your face. I don't care. Like, I'll do it 10 times on Sunday just to make up for it. But it's like, oh my gosh. But
This guy, Greg Herrera, says tech is neutral and created by God and implemented by man. It can be used for good or bad.
I love you, Greg. Hey, you're my friend. You know you're my friend. You know you're my friend. We've been friends for a bit.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. I wish
Yeah.
I could see the comments. I can't see them, can I?
Oh, well, yeah, you can. If you go, do you have your phone? You can
Oh,
just
yeah.
pull it up on your phone, but just make sure you turn the volume all the way down. Then go to my channel and you'll see the live one and you'll just click on it and then you can see
That is
what
so
people are saying.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
I try to keep an eye on it unless there's someone in there. And thank you, Anne, for being in there. So, yeah, it's just, I really am so, the spirit of religion is, I'm over it. I'm so over it that I really want them to understand the people that want to correct people in the spirit of religion, you are absolutely turning people away. I feel like I have never been closer. I have never read the Bible more. I have never shared the Bible more. And I have never been more turned off by the word Christian in my life than I have in the last probably 6 months, in particular the last couple weeks, because people are really and truly trying to control when they're using that. They don't want
I
you to
really,
do
yeah,
that.
I really don't
Instead
like
of
it.
inspiring you with the light, they're pulling you down by with judgment. That's why I was so happy when you told me that about opinion and judgment. That was so good.
Yeah, and the word Christian actually means to follow Christ. So how do you follow what's already inside of you? I mean, that has always been, even with the church situation, it's like, how do you go where you are? It's quite a catch-22 situation. But someone on here I'm reading says, we only need Jesus, not man-made devices, whatever. So Jesus never ate food. I mean, do we not wear seatbelts in the car because Jesus is going to take care of everything? Is Jesus taking care of everything right now? No, Jesus isn't here. The Holy Spirit is, and God is in our DNA, and we are the ones that are commissioned right here to be God on earth and do the things that God would want us to do. It's called occupying. We're taking dominion. That's what we do. We are the ones. So, man-made devices, like Jesus pooped and went, ate food.
How do we know that? I don't know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But
kind
that's
of
the
silly
piece.
thing.
That's that loving spirit that is missing, and that actually was what he embodied. And that goes back to what we were talking about, how you were saying that you've got to be able to hold that frequency for people around you to be able to have it. And I always tell people that if you embody something, people will catch it. And that's why Michael Jordan turned somebody like Scottie Pippen, who was on his team, into a superstar, because he was in that frequency so often. Michael had already embodied it. And so this is the other person right next to him becoming a superstar with him. And that is because he was in his field. Had Scottie Pippen been somewhere else, Michael Jordan probably would have been able to help somebody else. And
Uh,
that's the piece that people don't realize. And I loved what you were saying earlier about whatever you judge, it's us. It's
Yep.
us.
Well, and I love that analogy that you use. I never thought about that specifically, but they do say, if I don't know you personally, to go talk to 5 of your closest friends, and then I'm going to know exactly who you are just by your friends. And not only is that because birds of a feather flock together and we kind of find each other, but also because it's in the field, it's transferable. And just like real estate. So if you buy the smallest house in a subdivision with the biggest houses, the $1 million mansions all around you, guess what? Your appraisal or your
It's
appreciation
higher. It's
will go
good.
higher
It's good
because of
analogy.
where you are. I mean, that's what happens is it does matter who you hang out with, literally matter, like as in manifest. And
Right.
so also not laying around with pigs and pigsties either, so, um,
Yeah, and I will forgive people very quickly. I've been really good at that, but I also won't exchange in the same level. They get pushed further out of my inner circle. Whatever position they were in my circle, they get pushed further out. And I'm always civil and kind to people, but I'm not gonna engage like I would have had
So
you not
good.
done that to me, even though I forgave you.
Yes. And the word forgive, I love, because to for is to before, for give, to keep giving, to give before you're giving, to give. And so there is a give of love, and also Bob, I'm going to bring him up again, is
I love this guy because that above the snake line, I use it all the time now.
yes, Bob used to, I'm looking at his picture right now. Bob used to talk about, he was in a situation where he was seriously betrayed. And I remember sitting at an airport with him and, the guy had reached out to him and been like a decade. And he's like smeared him big time, told him some really terrible lies and spread some serious lies. And I was like, are you going to go meet with this guy? And he was like, yeah, I'm going to. I mean, I forgive him. He's like, doesn't mean I got to hang out with them.
Right,
And I was just like, that is so good. So it's like we forgive for us. We
right.
forgive so it's not in our field, because then we get more judgment. So as we forgive, we shift our code, our field, so we're not getting people judging us back. But then, and we keep it clean, for our own karma. But it doesn't, like what you said, you don't have to like be best friends and like have them spend the night and like
Right.
go grab coffee with them or anything, but it's just like,
Yeah.
I love you from over here, still love them and just be like, have fun with that. I love you from far
I
away.
love you from afar. You look really good over there.
Yeah, you look so great over there. I did a
Yeah.
meme the other day and it was just like, all the bullshit, put it right over there. I know, I'm sorry. Anyway,
my
sorry, not
my
sorry.
my friend had lost her dad, and her really good friend said, "You know what? When that happens, you just get to have a fuck it bucket." And she goes, you can just say fuck it for a few weeks." And I just thought that was really cute because
I'm gonna make a
it's
bucket.
right. It's kind of nice to sometimes be like,
I'm totally gonna make
I'm
that
just letting
bucket.
this
I'm gonna do it
go.
as we get off here. It might be like a jar, but I'll just call it a bucket.
There
That's
you
a
go.
great
It
idea.
rhymes better.
Yeah, and then like mentally, you just put it there. I do that in meditation. I just, anything that's going on, I just like pull it out and stick it on the shelf over there and
Yeah.
shut the door, put it in a box,
Yeah.
to like free me up. But I like the real, like, I like that. That's good.
Well, and I just enjoy feeling good so much that when something does come across my field, just like you, I go, okay, how did I participate with that? And I
That's
can
great.
look back and I can go, okay, I saw that this person was blank. And I knew that that wasn't good. I also saw that this person was blank. I also knew that wasn't good, but I still engaged with them. Why? Well, because I was being selfish and I wanted something from that relationship. And it also goes to no faith because I wanted something from that relationship. Well, shouldn't I have trusted that God would provide that for me and know that it wouldn't be through somebody that had A and B? Yes, I should have known that. And so then I go, okay, good. Now I've refined myself. I've kept my standards a little bit higher now, and I can let go and forgive, and then I won't do that again. And so I get to keep feeling good, which is my goal. So I've gotten to where I've processed it so much faster now, and it is so peaceful,
Yep.
so peaceful. But you
Yep.
mentioned that you had some people. Have you had any issues with people like you and I? Let's say you and I did something, and then I said something that you disagreed with on, or no, let's just say that I said something on a show that you disagreed with. Um, and well, let's pretend because you probably wouldn't do this because I'm sure I say lots of things, but let's pretend like you got butthurt over it. And you were like, well, I'm not gonna talk to her anymore. Well, how do you handle that? Because we get invited to be on other shows and different things. Have you had one that was just a major breakup, or were most of them just like, oh, we just didn't invite each other back or keep rolling?
It's been both.
Okay.
It's been, some of it has been like, we just kind of went
Grew
separate
apart.
ways. There was one that was like kind of a big live thing that happened, and then that person never talked to me again and won't answer my calls to this day. There's and then there's that whole thing where it's like you have someone on your show and then someone else that you had on your show doesn't agree with, let's say, what I say, and so then they won't do anything with you anymore because I'm doing that. And I'm like, just like, oh my gosh, like I have a lot of people on. It doesn't mean I agree with everything, but a matter of fact, I have a lot of people on who are very, very diverse on purpose, just because I'm curious about what people think and what they feel. And sometimes I don't even know what they think or feel. And then it comes up and I'm like, oh, great, I don't believe that. But, and you're live, and so it's just like, and so I mean, like with the drugs thing, I had someone come up, and they were like, smoke weed, and it was live. And I was just like, and for the record, I don't agree with that. And it was my show. So I was like, and for the record, I don't agree with that. Low scalar waves, because my responsibility to the people that follow me, I
Right,
want to
right,
make that clear, you know.
right.
But if someone was for or against that topic, then they may be like, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore. Or you had a person on who smokes weed, then I'm not gonna be, it's weird, but I try to stay in the middle of the road. But
Right.
sometimes when you're in the middle of the road, you get ran over because
You hit the crossfire between two people or something.
yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
like, dude, I'm not picking sides here. Like I love you both, and this is, just do you and stop being all weird about it. And I guess there probably are some situations where I've been like, I'm not having that person back because maybe they did something weird to someone else, and I
Right.
actually had proof, and then I don't want to be, it's just a case by case situation.
Yeah.
We're all growing and learning about each other in this field, and then there's also a whole lot of people still coming in and going, and it's very fluid with what we do, teaching and sharing and having shows and having other people who are hosts and having shows. And so just I try to just love everyone like you, and
Yeah.
just kind of have the same attitude you do, where it's just like, I love everyone, I'm very diverse, you're very diverse. It's
Yeah.
just good to have conversations. And how do you have conversations about topics that are diverse without having someone who actually believes those things? And then I like discussing some things like that sometimes, especially if it's a loving, kind conversation and not like a
Yeah.
judgmental, I'm not going to change my mind, but I'm just talking to you to be mad about it kind of deal.
Right. And then there's times where you know that somebody is going to be on your show that most of your people won't necessarily agree with them. I don't know if you have had that, but I have. And it's interesting how they'll warm up to them over the hour, you know. They'll be like, wow, that one surprised me. I didn't expect that person to be like that. A lot of times they send it to me, you know, in my direct mail and Twitter or something. You know, they don't want people to see it, but it's really cool for me to be able to share different. I've always loved diversity. I love diversity. I've just always been attracted to understanding all of the different ways. And I think it's really important too. I really do. And so I like to get religious opinions. I like to get, you know, professional opinions. I love, like, I just recently did a show with a guy that had been in jail and he became a pastor and he's
Wow.
now doing amazing work in Chicago, changing a neighborhood. And so, you know, I guess if somebody were to look at the five most people that I hang out with, it would be mostly my family. But if they were to really watch me, it's kind of wild.
Well, I mean, I've had people on, for example, too, even with like flat earth or whatever, and I'm like, I am curious, like, why do you believe that?
Yes,
And
me
maybe I'll be,
too.
yeah, maybe I'm wrong, and I'd like, and then at the end I could be like, well, I heard everything and I'm still where I'm at, but thanks for sharing. And and not necessarily even say that, but um I'm just curious about a lot of subjects out there, like most people, and or books that people have written or experiences people have had, like you said with the guy in jail or whatever. And
Yeah.
so it's just fun. But going back to the whole, judging thing, is like I said, most of the people who are judging, they're only coming from their filter of what they know or what they've been told or what they've been programmed to or what they came up in or what their DNA is coded to. And they are not having the courage yet to look outside of whatever. I mean, I base things on science. So, if I have an issue with recreational drugs or whatever, it's because I have a scientific basis for it and it's fine. But I know there's some people who they do it anyway and it's fine and whatever, so, but I'm cool with that. It's called unconditional love. It's called letting people be where they're at. It's called like, only God touches me, only God touches you, do your thing, it's fun, whatever. But again, I do think that people have a lot more courage to sit behind a computer and be mean versus like come up to you with, your husband and your kids and be like, oh my God, that necklace has a jet obsidian on there, and that is definitely new age. Yes, people do.
Yeah. That's so funny. Well, and so if I know we're hitting an hour and I don't know if you're in a hurry, but I would love to know more details about weed and somebody else wanted to know. So if you have time, that would be cool. If not, totally understand.
Yeah, no, all I know is it's 10 on scalar wave. So 25 is death. So
Right.
when you participate in that, it's going to do other things. And entities are entities, and you know, I'm sure that there's stuff that maybe it might help depending on what it is. Like with, I've heard, pain and all that stuff, and some people that's all that it works for. And so I get it. Calming down PTSD or whatever. But also, at
Anxiety.
what expense are you going to exchange that for to have more entities that could cause other issues? So that's all. Um, but yeah, I know we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to have we're gonna have to have another conversation because there was some stuff that happened here recently. I would love to talk about my I'm calling it my 3 questions, but we can do
Okay.
that another time. And you're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I can't wait. I love leaving it with mystery.
Ah,
I think we should always end it with, oh, there's more to come.
well, I will be in touch to have you back on my show.
Okay, cool.
And also, if you guys are interested in doing biofeedback, I can
Yes.
give you the link, and I can even do you. I'll set you up and do you a free scan, and we can go over it, and we can see how to balance you. And you're
Oh, you're
you
so
can pass
sweet.
out a
He's
couple
such a
people.
giver, y'all.
But thank you,
So,
everyone who's
thank
watching.
you. And then I'll just take the same information from the last time you were on and put it in the description box. But I'm also going to add a link to that last video that I just loved of yours. I felt like everyone should see it. I don't know why. I just thought it was really, really powerful. It just resonated with me.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. All right.
Thanks. And everybody have a good night. And I'll be here tomorrow with my daughter for Let Me Ask My Mom. I'll see you
Awesome.
guys.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.